from the Radio What Studios, and this is my podcast, What Makes You Smarter. It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do I always send you? DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote, and maybe you can have me at your next event. I like to party with the people. Why did I sing it like that? I don't know. I've been doing a lot of karaoke shows lately. Video dance party, karaoke jams. And speaking of that, I'll be at the RAB in Conway, Arkansas on Friday nights. That's my one public show as we break out of quarantine here in this time. It's been a good time as we've been doing it for quite a few weeks now over at the RAB in Conway, Arkansas, the video dance party karaoke jam. They got a full bar, the kitchen's open, pool tables. In fact, on Friday nights, they have a pool tournament. So if you want to make some money while you're waiting to sing a song right next to me on stage, you can try joining the pool tournament. Yeah. Make some money out of playing pool. Yeah, I think that's a very poorly sung line from a Rod Stewart song. Yeah. Maggie May, right? Yeah. Yeah. I don't even have to ask the question. I know that's where it's from. All right. Also, if you'd like to tell your story or hear the stories of others, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. But for today, it's What Makes You Smarter. Now, on with the show. Today on the program, 10 things you need to know today for Monday, August 17th, 2020. 10 things you need to know today. Number 1, Democrats launch their virtual convention. The Democratic National Convention gets started Monday night with a lineup of speakers addressing the three main crises facing the United States heading into the November presidential election: the coronavirus pandemic, the economic crisis, and racial injustice. The virtual event will include a series of live video feeds. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo and Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, both of whom attracted national attention leading their state's COVID-19 responses, will speak about overcoming the pandemic. Senator Bernie Sanders, independent Vermont, one of presumptive Democratic nominee Joe Biden's primary opponents, and former Ohio Governor John Kasich, a 2016 Republican presidential candidate and frequent critic of President Trump, will speak in a show of unity on Monday. Former First Lady Michelle Obama will give Monday's keynote speech. This is according to ABC News and USA Today. Number 2, Pelosi calls House back into session to vote on USPS bill. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Democrat New York, said Sunday that she is calling the House back from recess to vote on proposed legislation seeking to prevent the U.S. Postal Service from reducing service levels and causing mail delays ahead of the November election, when many Americans plan to vote by mail to reduce their risk of coronavirus exposure. The panel will invite Postmaster General Louis DeJoy and Postal Service Board of Governors Chairman Robert Duncan to testify before the House Oversight Committee in an August 24th emergency hearing to explain, quote, why they are so pushing. Let me start again. Quote, why they are pushing these dangerous new policies that threaten to silence the voices of millions, end quote, Democratic leaders said. DeJoy, an ally of President Trump, has limited overtime and barred postal workers from making extra trips to ensure on-time deliveries. This is according to the Washington Post. Number 3, UNC reports 4th cluster of coronavirus cases. The University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill on Sunday reported its 4th cluster of coronavirus infections in less than a week after the start of classes. A cluster is defined as 5 or more COVID-19 cases in a single place. The latest one was in Hinton James Residence Hall. The earlier clusters were reported in the Sigma Nu fraternity, the Eringaus Community Residence Hall and Granville Towers, a private apartment complex that houses many students. These cases underscore the challenges ahead for universities seeking to bring students back to campus for the fall term, while coronavirus cases remain high in many states. An off-campus sorority house at Oklahoma State was placed on quarantine after 23 members tested positive for COVID-19. This is according to CNN. Number 4, Thai protesters hold biggest rally since 2014 coup. More than 10,000 Thai protesters gathered in Bangkok on Sunday in the biggest anti-government protest since a 2014 coup. The protesters chanted, quote, "Down with dictatorship," end quote, and, quote, "The country belongs to the people," end quote. Students who have led protests almost every day for a month called for curbing the monarchy's powers and ousting former junta leader Prime Minister Prayuth Chan-o-cha. The demonstrators also want a new constitution and freedom from harassment for opposition figures. Quote, "We want a new election and a new parliament from the people," end quote. Student activist Pat Salawali Tanakit Wibunpon said. Ouch. Quote, "Our dream is to have a monarchy which is truly under the Constitution," end quote. There was no immediate response from the royal palace, but a spokesperson for the government said the prime minister urged, quote, "officials and protesters to avoid violence," end quote. This is according to Reuters. Number 5, survey, 54% approve of Harris pick. 54% of respondents in an ABC News Washington Post poll said they approved the presumptive Democratic nominee Joe Biden's choice of Senator Kamala Harris as his running mate. Only 29% said they disapproved. The poll, which was released Sunday, found Democrats approved of the pick 86% to 8%, compared to 25% to 55% among Republicans. Independents, who are potential swing voters in the presidential election, supported the inclusion of Harris, Democrat California, on the Democratic presidential ticket by a 23-point margin, 52 to 29%. 78% of black respondents approved, as did 65% of Hispanics. Disapproval of Harris as the Democratic presidential candidate was highest among conservatives, white evangelicals, rural residents, and non-college educated white men. This is according to ABC News. Number 6, New Zealand delays election due to new COVID-19 cases. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern announced Monday that she is delaying the country's parliamentary elections from September 19th to October 17th due to new coronavirus infections. New Zealand went 102 days without reporting a non-travel related case of COVID-19, but reported 13 new infections on Sunday, bringing the country's number of active cases up to 69. Most of the cases were from community transmission and are linked to a cluster of 58 cases in Auckland, which is under a new lockdown. South Korea is also experiencing a surge in cases. On Sunday, it reported 279 new confirmed infections. Its highest 24-hour jump since early March. The vast majority of the cases came from the Seoul metropolitan area, the Korean Center for Disease Control and Prevention said. This is according to BBC News. Number 7, Belarus holds massive protest against Lukashenko. An estimated 220,000 Belarusians took to the streets Sunday in the biggest protest in the country's history, demonstrating escalating public anger over the disputed re-election of the country's authoritarian leader, Alexander Lukashenko. 7 days ago, Lukashenko claimed to have won the presidential election with 80% of the vote, igniting the biggest crisis he has faced since taking power 26 years ago. The protests have been energized by police violence against demonstrators. On Sunday, the anti-government protesters gathered on the opposite side of the city of Minsk from a much smaller rally where Lukashenko told supporters that he would not give up power. Quote, "I have never betrayed you and I never will," end quote, he said. This is according to The Guardian and the New York Times. Number 8, Japan's economic decline is worst on record. Japan's economy shrank a record annual rate of 27.8% in the second quarter as the coronavirus pandemic disrupted businesses around the world, according to government data released Monday. The figures indicated that the country's seasonally adjusted real gross domestic product, or GDP, fell 7.8% quarter on quarter, the worst since the government began compiling records of such drops in 1980. Japan's previous record contraction occurred during the global financial crisis just over a decade ago. Japan fell into recession, officially defined as 2 consecutive quarters of contraction. In the first quarter, when its economy shrank by 0.6%, following a 1.8% decline in the last 3 months of 2019. This is according to The Hill and the New York Times. Number 9, Knorr changes dressing's name due to racist connotations. Knorr, one of Germany's best-known food company, said it would change the name of a spicy dressing due to the racist connotations of its name. Zigeuner sauce, or gypsy sauce, the German weekly Bild am Sonntag reported Sunday. The product will be renamed, quote, paprika sauce Hungarian style, end quote. The popular sauce will reappear in grocery stores under the new name within a few weeks, the company said. Since gypsy sauce can be interpreted in a negative way, we've decided to give our Knorr sauce a new name, end quote, said Unilever, the international consumer goods giant that owns Knorr. Civil rights groups started demanding a new name for the sauce years ago. The decision followed similar rebranding moves by numerous companies in the United States as protests against racism have spread. This is according to the Associated Press. Number 10, record heat wave, lightning strikes, fuel California wildfires. The temperature in Death Valley, California, rose to 130 degrees on Sunday afternoon, possibly a world record for August. If validated, the temperature would be one of the 3 highest recorded on the planet ever, if not the highest. The rise came as triple-digit temperatures in California, along with freak lightning and high winds, contributed to wildfires raging across the state. A rare fire tornado was reported north of Lake Tahoe on Saturday. The National Weather Service in Reno said it planned to investigate the phenomenon as soon as the wildfire was under control. Moisture from an offshore tropical storm caused lightning in the Bay Area and elsewhere that ignited new spot fires. The heat wave also has resulted in rolling blackouts in parts of the state. This is according to the Washington Post and the Associated Press. That's 10 things you need to know today for Monday, August 17th, 2020. Thank you so much for listening. This has been What Makes You Smarter. If you would like to tell your story or you would like to hear the stories of others, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. That's it for me. It's KeysDAN, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.